I'm going to show you one more thing that makes makes these comment banks work really well. If I'm making a comment on something, and okay, if I'm making comments on something, and let's say, why did you do that? Here's how it worked for me. I make a comment on something, I realize I've made that comment 3 times in a row while doing this marking. I want to turn this into a quick mark. The link is right there. You can just click that, give it a title. Why? And I can add it to a set. I can choose which set I want to add that to. I'm going to add it to commonly used. And then I can save that, and it makes a new comment, a new quick mark comment. Now, that comment, I'm going to go back to commonly used, shows up right there. So I've just added it. So this, I find, is the most useful way to use it. Set up some sort of banks of things you think you're likely to use frequently, and then you can just add them on the fly. Now the description in this quick mark is right here, but I can also add additional comments. If I want to be more specific about it, which I find I have to do every so often with those quick mark comments that I typically use, you can add that extra little bit of detail to it. So that's... Okay, so I just added an extra one. So you can also do more work on your comment banks by clicking on the little wrench icon there. That's a little quick mark manager. You can see all of your sets. You can go into a comment and change which set it's in. I believe, if I remember correctly, you can add things to multiple sets. So I could take this and add it to commonly used. I don't know. Let's see here now. I'm going to click this and nope. I'm trying to remember how to add this. I think. Oh no, I remember now. In the ones that Turnitin gives you, they're locked. You can add new things to it, but you can't really move stuff around. But in any that you've made, you can, using the actions, you can add things to different sets, or you can make new sets in here. So this is where you'd go if you want to make new quick mark sets or move things around between sets. So that's where you can manage all of that. Let's go through some other stuff. This is where you can make your general comments. You can make text comments, and a new thing they've added is voice comments. So you can actually talk directly to the students. This could be useful for getting intonation. One of the things I mentioned is you can get the intonation. You can give students. With text comments, you don't really get that emotional content, but you can get that with voice comment. Or students who have EAL difficulties, you can give them the written comment and a voice version of that comment. Just some ideas of how you could use that. This right here shows you all the comments that are in there and each page. So it gives you a little summary of a little summary list of all the comments. And here is where you get the rubrics. So this symbol down here that kind of looks like a rubric. You can add rubrics to your assignment. So if I want to add a rubric, I go to the wrench icon. This is the rubric manager, and I would add a rubric to that assignment.
That had already been established prior to them submitting that would show up, right? Remember before, like on the main screen?
Yes, yeah, it would already be there if you had set it up from your options. So if you make them ahead of time, then you can do that there. As far as I know, and I haven't really looked at this, if you don't have any submissions yet in anything, I'm not sure how you get to this, how you get to the rubric manager. I'm not sure if you can make rubrics ahead of making any assignments. So it might be a good idea for your first assignment to just show them the rubric you want to use and leave it at that. One other thing with this, if you're making rubrics, you want it to be rubrics you're going to reuse. For NYP, this should probably be the criteria rubrics. You want to leave out the individual things for your assignment and just go with things that are more general. Because here's one problem I had. I made a rubric based on the criteria that are in the lab work that we do in science. the problem showed up where I realized later, oh wait, I need to have a rubric that has their marks for New Brunswick, because that's what I'm going to be using it for first. I can't get rid of this rubric anymore. It's attached to an assignment, and unless I basically detach it from every assignment it's attached to, I'm going to see this forever, and I don't really want to detach it anymore. I want to leave it as it is. So I'd suggest making your rubrics the way you want, in the most universal way, in the way that's going to be the most useful for you, way ahead of time. And you can only have one rubric per assignment. So the way I did it was I set up rubrics that are going to give me a percentage mark for New Brunswick, but are based on the lab marks. So I said, let's see. There's two for based on a complete mark, but I give them different credit in terms of New Brunswick. I'm going to have to adjust these later, but we have some for based on a partial, what a partial mark would be, and some based on a not at all. These are not perfectly accurate for DP, internal assessment marks, but they're fairly good for that. And they give me a percentage mark that I can use for New Brunswick marks. So what I would do is I'd have to assign, I'm going to use the test rubric that I've made here, and I would attach it to my assignment. So I've got a couple of criteria, blah, blah, and blorg, and 3 scales, sucks, meh, and OMG. So this is how you'd probably set up your assignment. You'd have different levels for each of the criteria over here, and scales here. You can also set it up so that you've got, oh, you actually can't edit this rubric. But down here, when you're setting up a rubric, like once you have it attached to an assignment, you can't edit it. You can't edit it, you can't delete it, it's there forever. So make sure you get them right ahead of time. But you can actually have each cell have a different value. If that's useful to you, you can do it that way. And you can also have a rubric that's just qualitative, that just gives them some feedback that's never going to be used for marks. All right. So I'm going to, let's see, I've got that attached to this assignment, so I can close that. And now what I see is the rubric is here, and all I do to mark it is just press on whatever I think. Let's give it a 10. It's going to get a 3. That's a 5. That's a 5. Done. And then I just apply the rubric percentage to the grade. 12 out of 20. Yes?
I'm just wondering, is there a way, like, if you didn't want to make it percent, you could just turn that feature off so that if it's 12 out of 20, you can go back to the grade scale and say that's a 4.
Absolutely. Like, you don't have to click the apply. You specifically have to click apply rubric percentage to grade for it to show up as the grade that's up here. Now that works for me because I've got it set up to work that way in terms of making percentage marks. But if for MYP, I understand that wouldn't really work all that well.
Is there anything you can do to make it work for MYP? Just there's the criteria one you get.
Not
something
really.
In the 4 band, something in the 6 band, and then you're gonna end up with a 5 overall.
Yeah,
Same thing on Google,
not really. Not really. I'd say a qualitative one would probably be best.
then you want to score it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. You can totally. You can say just like I can go here and say, that 12 doesn't make any sense. That should be a 0. Done. Yeah.
You can just put a number in. You
Yeah.
don't have to use that function.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But at least that's what I've heard.
So that's I find that really helpful for my teaching. Again, it may not work perfectly well for the MYP rubrics. I'd suggest just having one criteria. Like, you could have a rubric that would have all of the criteria and, let's say for science, the 1 to 6 levels, and then just tap on whatever is appropriate. If you had a, actually, no, that wouldn't work. Yeah, there's some ways that this works fairly well for things that work based on percentage. Doesn't work quite so well to things that are more criteria-based like MYP does, but you can still use the rubrics to help the students out or to mark in your marks. All right, so that's that. I think that's everything.
Would you go to print off a copy of the comments and the report plagiarism?
Right down here, down in the bottom left-hand corner, you have a print and download. So I can download it, and when you download It's a PDF of current view for printing. So this is going to give you a PDF of whatever. If you're in grade mark view, it's going to give you the grade view. If you're in originality, it's going to show you the originality scores. You can also get the digital receipt. So I'm going to get a PDF of the current view. And what it'll do is it'll make a PDF and download it for you. Yeah, so that's downloading now. And I'll show you what that looks like. If this is the one I'm thinking of, then this should actually have a listing of a view of the paper, like a title page, a view of the paper, and a list of all the comments. So you see here, use of spiders in the classroom. Scroll down. It's got a word count, character count, all the details you want to have. This is what it looks like on the screen. Clearly, I need to move some stuff around, but you can see all that stuff. And then we have all the comments in here. General comments would show up there, the general text comments. And the scores it gets on the rubrics, it's all right there, which I find is really useful for DP at least. When I'm sending in my internal assessments, I can just grab this and send it out, and it's got all the marking that I need. It's all right there. All right, so close that there. And I think that's it. I don't know how much time we have left. Do we have enough time to show peer mark? What time do we finish?
Yeah, excuse me, Ryan. I have a question. Yeah, so,
Oh, okay. Have we run out of time? Let's see. Okay, yeah, we got maybe 3 minutes. I was going to show you PeerMark and the iPad, but I guess we won't be able to show that. PeerMark, you have to make another assignment after you make the original assignment and turn it in. I'm probably going to have to leave that up to you. If you're interested in it, send me an email and I'll see what I can send you about it. I also wanted to show off the iPad app. I suggest if you have an iPad and you're going to use Turnitin, that you get the app, because that is one thing that I think is really great. They can synchronize all the papers from Turnitin.com, from the online source, to your iPad, and then you can have access to them offline. Which means no matter where you are, if you wanted to, let's say you go to Starbucks, you want to do some grading, and the internet's not working as well as you'd like. If you've got your stuff downloaded to the Turnitin app already, it's available for you, and you have pretty much all the functionality of the online version of Turnitin. Comments, rubrics, everything is there. You just can't change any settings. And I don't believe you can make any new rubrics through that. That's the only limitation you really have. From what I've seen, it looks pretty great. I think that's it. Any questions? Yeah.
Does this Turnitin that checks the plagiarism if the submitted text, some part of the submitted text is in double quotations?
You can set it up so that it excludes anything that has been quoted. Yep. So if it's in double quotes, it won't count it. It'll say, oh, you've put it in quotes, that should be fine. The only thing I can think that you might not want that if students are putting things in quotation marks but not citing them in their bibliography. You can also set it up so that if anything is in the bibliography, then it won't include that. So it won't consider it. It'll say, oh, this text comes from Wikipedia. Oh, but they cited their Wikipedia source in their bibliography section. Okay.
And the second thing is regarding the captions of the images, the diagrams. Does it also checks the captions?
If the captions are text, it should, yes. I haven't run into that yet because we don't typically use many images in the text. It would check things in tables.
Text also?
Yeah. Anything, as long as it's text, it'll check it. If they put everything in, that's why they can't use pages, because they can't figure out what the text is in the pages file. If they sent you an image of their writing, that would also not work because they can't read it's not text. They have to be able to read the text. Any other questions? All right. I think we can end now. All right. Thank you very much.